Hey everybody, it's JT. So what are we doing today? I'm gonna call this a battery chat. The purpose of this post and video is not to be a complete list of batteries and battery safety. Understand that right off the bat. I list some popular batteries vapors may use or come in contact with, and I list the stated ranges and specifications for those batteries. I haven't tested them. I don't have the equipment to test them. I am just sharing the information that the companies that make the batteries or sell the batteries share with consumers. Maybe nothing better, but just compiling some of that to one little post. Basardo and some of the bigger guys have more equipment to individually test batteries. I highly suggest you look far further than just this video to learn about battery safety. Again, this is just going to be a battery chat. One thing I want to mention when it comes to batteries, what I know about batteries, to have a factory to manufacture battery cells takes a lot of money, probably a lot of red tape, and a lot of time. So I personally am a bit skeptical when I see a brand new brand of battery hit the market. I'm sure some of them, if not all of them, are great batteries. Personally, I would rather purchase a battery from a well-established, larger company in the electronics field. Sony, LG, Samsung, people like that. I tend to shy away from brand new batteries. I tend to really shy away and be skeptical of batteries that maybe say for vaping, for sub-ohm use, something to that effect. A lot of people think, and they're probably right, that a lot of those newer brands are simply older batteries, other batteries rather, with a different wrapper, a different logo on them. So I would prefer to have the OG, the original, from the manufacturer with the wrapper that was made to be on it. So just something to be aware of. So my goal is to get some of this and have this chat with some people, hopefully before they develop bad or potentially dangerous habits or behaviors. When a vapor, or if a vapor decides to use an unregulated device and or rebuildable atomizers, they're going to come in contact with batteries. I would like to see people at that stage get the correct information and, again, practice good habits, safe vaping right from the get-go. If you put a couple steps into your building and vaping repertoire, it becomes second nature. It becomes just like breathing. It becomes just like blinking. You do it and you understand these are the steps that you go through to ensure that you will be vaping as safe as possible. I've got a list of some of the more popular batteries, 18650, 18490, and 18500s, and also some 18350s. Got a little list of them, and I just pulled them from different vendors' websites. And again, I pulled the specs from those websites as well. Okay. If you've looked into batteries much, you know that a Sony VCT4 or VCT5 is rated at 30 amps. Okay. I tried to list that amp rating beside all of these batteries. Now, I'll tell you right off the bat, I do not know the definition of maximum continuous and continuous. I don't know how long you would have to fire a device for it to qualify for continuous? I don't know. I admit that. There's a lot of stuff I don't know. So I'm not even trying to tackle that. One of those steps is, and this video is not going to be about that, but obviously knowing the resistance of your atomizer's coils at all times. At all times. Now, a freshly charged battery, whether it's an 18650, 18500, or 18350, they're all called 3.7 volt batteries. Now, when they're fully charged, they put out a little more than that. 4.2 volts is what a new battery, a freshly charged, in good condition battery will put out, okay? So you know the resistance of your atomizer, you know the voltage that is being pushed to your atomizer. Now, what you need to find out and understand is the amperage that is being demanded, that is being pulled out of your battery. How do you do that? You go to an Ohm's Law calculator. I post the link to one in this post. Very simple. You plug in the voltage of your battery, 4.2. You plug in the resistance of your atomizer, whatever that may be, and you hit calculate. And it's going to give you some more numbers. It's going to fill in the blanks. And it's going to tell you the amperage that it's pulling out of that battery. Okay, it's going to tell you. That's the way to start rebuilding, start using unregulated devices. Always be aware of those numbers. Now that you have that information and you know how to find out that information, don't push it. Don't push the envelope. Again, in my experience, all of these 30 amp plus batteries are rated for 20 amp continuous. Of course, I could be wrong. That's what I have deduced from the information. So I don't demand more than 20 amps for my batteries ever. I don't. I simply do not. And it is my belief that I am greatly lowering the risk factor by doing so. If I've got some wiggle room, if my battery is rated 30 amp max and I'm running a build that is demanding 20 amps from it, I've got a little wiggle room before that battery is getting pushed to or beyond its limits. If your build, mod, atomizer, battery combination, your setup is built right to the maximum and you have an accident, I mean, just logic will tell you that the risk of something bad happening is far higher in that scenario. Don't do it. Don't push your batteries. They have these specs and these safe ranges for a reason. All of this battery data has been collected for years, far before we were using them for vaping, right? They weren't designed to be used like this. One of the things we can do to highly reduce the number of errors and dangerous situations is simply respect the ranges that they suggest. They say 30 amp max. That's the maximum. That doesn't mean vape at 30 amps. That doesn't mean pull 30 amps from your batteries at all times. That's the maximum. Okay? The maximum. Personally, on all of my 18650 setups, whenever I'm using an 18650 battery and a rebuildable, to be perfectly honest, I never demand more than 18 amps from my battery. That's the maximum that I will vape at. Okay? I am well under the stated maximum for that battery. I feel far more comfortable knowing that I am not stressing this battery to its limits. I wouldn't feel safe knowing that I'm demanding everything that the manufacturer says this battery can do. I am just pounding it and pulling every bit out of it. I don't feel comfortable with that. And I would highly recommend you do the same. Now, 20 amps is a lot. That's a lot. There is no need to try to reach that. If you are satisfied with a build that is pulling 5 amps from your battery, even better. I don't necessarily recommend certain resistances and setups to people because that's a very personal thing. You have to find out what works for you. But don't let anybody tell you that you have to vape at extremely low resistances to be satisfied and to get a lot of vapor. It's simply untrue. That's good stuff. Obviously, people have different preferences, but this is more than enough to keep me satisfied. And I pretty much beg you, please respect battery ratings and don't be cheap with batteries. This is kind of a separate thing, but make sure your batteries are always in very good condition. The wrapper on those batteries is there for a reason. When it starts tearing, I saved this one just for this video. When it starts tearing and peeling and bubbling and getting discolored, get rid of that unit. Get rid of it. I know a lot of people have had success rewrapping batteries, and I'm not here to argue with that. I don't do that. Batteries, I know they can be expensive, but TriangleVape.com sells high amperage batteries that I trust a lot. These LGs and some Samsungs, I truly trust those batteries and those companies, and they're $7 or $8 a piece. Most of the time cheaper than a bottle of juice. Don't play around, don't skimp, don't get cheap on your battery. When they've put in some good work for you, dispose of them properly, and I think you have to recycle them very specifically. So make sure and look into that. Don't just throw them in the trash can. Keep your batteries looking nice. Keep new ones. Cycle them out from time to time. Just be safe, everybody. I love everybody in this community, and I don't want to see anyone get hurt or have a negative experience from vaping. And that stuff can be avoided to a certain degree by just practicing safe vaping and be aware of what you're vaping on and what you're teaching other people. As a vapor, you have the beautiful ability and opportunity to influence other people. Make sure you're doing it in the right way. Teach them the right things, you know? Teach them better than you learned. You know, when I started out, I didn't have much information. I was piecing it together. So what I try to do is anybody who asked me, I try to prepare them better than I was prepared. And what that's going to do is cultivate a smarter, more aware vape community in the future.